So in many ways, it's very similar to the car sitting to its last car to that left. Since we're here, Ray pointed out how important it is to have proper ride height. And the proper ride height on this car is determined by this knob in the front here. It's kind of dirty, but
the black will be clean when you get to that.
okay. And this one over here is the same one. Actually, when we take a look at this side, because there's more light hitting on this side. Oh, it is. So as I was saying, this point right here, that's the front right height. A point from it to a level ground, to a level floor. And in the rear, okay, David has pointed out the little tab sitting underneath the rear connecting point for the suspension.
Flat spot.
So those are your ride height settings from where you determine height. This car happens to be a 5-speed. As I was mentioning before, the lowest point on this car. Now, granted, you've got skid pads that work. I think this is the lowest point that I couldn't do. But if the object that you're about to hit isn't going to here, on one of the engine drain plug. There's one identical on the other side. This stuff is a little hot, so I won't touch it too much. But it's right here. It's directly over where the test pipe for the CO is. It's kind of shiny. Actually, it's I should say it's a little dull. It's got some what do you call it? Dust on it, powder on it. So take a look at that one. There's another one identical here on this side. Here it is. So each one of those is used to drain that cylinder head. And then, of course, you have the radiator drain right here.
So you have to use both of them?
If you're going to drain the engine, you've got to drain both sides. Yeah, one won't do it. You've got to do both. So there is approximately 16 quarts of coolant in this car, water and coolant. And to get all of it, you've got to drain all of it.
And it's messy.
And you want to mention approved antifreezes, phosphate?
Sure, good point. Actually, we're going to talk about heating because lots of questions have come up about, especially the GTs, overheating. And we're going to get into that. I think Kim wanted to make sure we talk about it. Yeah, since you brought it up, the coolants that are supposed to be used in this car, very critical. No phosphate, period. Pick up the bottle, look at the back, the ingredients. If you see the word phosphate anywhere on it, put it back. Do not buy that. Also, although not specifically stated by Porsche, silicates is something you ought to stay away from too. Silicates, I'm a geologist. Silicates is basically a very fine form of silica. Silica is what is in most sand. Quartz is basically silica. Well, I'm not sure I'd want a lot. A lot of the major manufacturers realize that the German cars are very, by the way, Germany is down on phosphates, not so much because it does eat through aluminum blocks, which is true, but it takes a long time. It has to do with pollution. They don't want the coolant drained into the Black Forest and then killing all the trees. So that's emissions is that. Okay.
It was not safe for aluminum. Is that guideline?
It's not safe for aluminum. It's not safe for certain alloys of aluminum. American manufacturers did catch on after the Belgian War. Then you'll see a seal that seals the crankshaft that's going through longitudinally. Basically, it's keeping the oil in and water and dirt out. So you've got one in the front and you've got one in the transmission, just before the transmission in the back. So those, that's what and they fail. And when they fail, they bump it to change it. real royal pain change. Here's the line here. Here's part of it. Is that right? Actually, he's got a nicer one. There's the hose. There's the hose. It's way up there. It's the blue hose up there. You can barely see it. That's above the change. Real engineer who has that must have been on Monday. He was, he was still hungover.
Where does this go to and from, Ed?
Master cylinder. Okay. That's the same system. By the way, when you bleed the brakes, bleed the slave cylinder too. Don't forget this guy. Most people do. If you go to a shop and tell them bleed the brakes, they won't even look at that guy, but they're supposed to.
Hey, do you have time to mention switching out the motor mounts, or is that somewhere else?
Well, actually, I have a show and tell on that.
Oh, good.
We got that. We've got something, right? Yeah. Motor mounts. Since Jim brought it up, we have motor mounts. Here's one here. They don't have pads for lifting. There's no pad for lifting. There are in the newer models. When I say newer, probably around 87 and up. But prior to 87, I don't think they didn't have pads. So anyway, so we have a proper pad. Now, so you've used the pad with your jack stand. I mean, with your floor jack or even your crank jack. There is a break in this hose with a sleeve in it and a pin going through it, and it's a sensor. That's your ambient temperature sensor. It's telling several things what the outside temperature is, the computer and your heater control system. That determines when you set your slide to 75 degrees, let's just take 75, and you set on automatic climate control, whether or not you get air conditioning or heat. If it's 32 degrees outside, you want heat. If it's 105 degrees outside, you want air conditioning. How does they know? Well, that's a sensor. The sensor out here tells the heater that's what you want. Now, that sensor is in a pretty lousy location. There's a lot of road grime going past there. It's behind this panel, but there's still room for crap to get in here through here. And sure enough, over time, the pins will corrode. It's brass, bronze, so it turns powdery greenish. You got to clean that out so that the sensor makes better contact. Otherwise, the default setting is you want heat. It is below zero inside. That's the default setting. The way the Germans figure, if it's freezing outside, you want heat. If it's too hot and it's broken, you can always roll down the window. So, but if it's freezing outside and you don't get any heat, you'll freeze to death.
Yeah, climate control. If I set the fan to low and I'm cruising along, whether air or heat or just regular fresh air, it'll start blowing real hard all of a sudden. If I put the fan up to the next where it's circulating air, it'll never do that.
Does this sound like the magic blowers syndrome?
Is that just normal?
No, it's not normal.
But everybody suffers from it.
As good as these cars were designed, there's a couple of failings. Germans apparently still haven't learned how to prep plastic properly. And the other thing that they seem to have not gotten, at least on this car right, is the heating control system. Typically, it's a vacuum leak, but these cars are getting old now. All these hoses, the lines that are going into the heater control system, they're probably cracked. They're probably leaking vacuum. Some of the solenoids may not be making good contact anymore. And it's one of these things where it works either in one default setting or another, and everything in between is no longer adjustable until you get rid of all of these other problems that they're with. Many people have, I said many, several people, I think, Greg, you've done it.
My experience, it tries to rip these upper bolts with its little sheet metal right out of this punch. It's just put in the sheet metal and it rips. What I think happens is it flexes this till it cracks, and then it rips the piece out. And now it's disconnected. So here's what I think is the most clever, unobtrusive fit. If you look in the back here, you can see the bolt goes up through, completely through that mounting there. Okay, you can show the light up there?
Yep.
So if you take another metal tube and you have the flat